Today, we'll be interviewing hotel royalty. We have the Duke of the hotel consulting business, Doug Kennedy. From hotel reservation sales to front desk sales training to group sales training, Doug is going to share his Kennedy touch, which usually turns your hotel into a cash machine. All this and more on today's True Hotel Leaders, where leaders teach leaders. Today's episode was brought to you by YouTube for Hotels. Your guests are looking for you on YouTube. Allow YouTube to promote your hotel for free. To learn more, go to youtubeforhotels.com. Hey, what's going on? You know who it is, and we're tuned into another episode of True Hotel Leaders. And today I am sitting next to hotel royalty. We have the Duke of Hotel Business Consulting. You know who it is. Doug Kennedy, what's going on, man?
Hey, great to be here, Bruce. Thank you for reaching out.
I can't believe no one makes it in the hotel consulting business this long. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. But
well, thank you. Yeah, it's been an interesting year. I was wondering about a year ago if we'd still have a hotel training company, but actually we're doing pretty good. So, wow. My 32nd year. Now I know what you're thinking. He can't be that old, right?
That's right.
That's the first thought that came to mind, I could tell.
Man, you must be taking all your vitamins. So Doug, what made you decide to become a consultant, and what got you into the hotel consulting space? How did you get your start?
Well, I guess first I got to tell you how I got into the hotel business. Yeah. Because I only do the training consulting in the hotel space, but kind of an accident. Really? Now, I don't know about you. Some people actually plan on a career in hotels, but for me, it was kind of random. Mm-hmm. Grew up in a family business. I worked from age 9 to 20 for my mom in Kennedy Craft Shop. Wow. And during that time, she opened the store when I was 9, and somehow I was just fascinated about business. I guess entrepreneurism was in my blood. Oh yeah, for sure. So I started out working every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now, some people may be feeling bad for me, our watchers out there are thinking, oh my gosh, the poor kid had to work. The good thing is I got to keep all the money. So I was really popular. I'd take all my buddies to the movies. And I loved it. Originally, I was going to take over my parents' craft shop, grow the business. Every time I see a Michael's store, I'm like, that guy, he stole my idea. But, as I got older, went to college, and my parents came to me when I was 20, about halfway through. They said, Douglas, are you still going to take over the crafts? Because if not, we want to retire early. They had them just enough to retire on modest means. And I said, you know what? They worked very hard to get there. And I said, do your thing. So I needed a job. At that point, I was going to be a rock star when I was 20. Man, I'm sure. Yeah, well, you can picture that too, right? Hair didn't work out, but anyway. So I just needed a job, and I ended up working for the Marriott family, and that because it was the biggest ad in the newspaper, that's how I picked hotels. There was number 125. I worked for the 125th Marriott, Lexington Marriott Resort, Griffin Gate in Kentucky. So. That's at the end of college. I applied to be a rock star, didn't get any calls. So I picked the next best thing, hotel manager. And I set out to be a GM. If you would have met me then, I was going to be a GM, moved to Connecticut, New York, down to Miami. Mm-hmm. About that time in my life, that entrepreneurial buzz just bubbled up in me. And I started out in 1989, 32 years ago. Nice. Been doing it ever since. More training than consulting, really.
Okay.
It is in the consulting field, but actually I'm doing more consulting now, but early on, it was all about training classes. Wow. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
32 years. Whew. So you got 30 years in the business. You do sales, group sales training, front desk training. COVID came and hit. And everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? It's like someone got punched by Mike Tyson, okay?
Yeah.
So what are some of the opportunities out there now that COVID's here, everyone's trying to recover? What can we do now in the hotel industry when it comes to sales and the front desk sales training?
I think this is the most exciting time in the history of the hotel industry because disruption creates opportunities. And certainly it's an exciting time for me. In the sales training, people really need it more than ever. The last pre-COVID, about 10 years of growth there, and for 10 years, up, people didn't really have to push that hard, and you open a hotel, it's a nice hotel, set the rates right, the business comes in. But And now in this era, you got to really work for it. And I feel like it's going to help that side of our business. And ironically, it's also made a lot more interest in hospitality training, because I think people are realizing better take good care of the guests we already have.
You know, I really never understood that. Like especially when there's a lot of GMs that don't really have the sales talent and doesn't have the sales training. Like, I don't understand why the owner or the management company wouldn't say, more owners or management companies wouldn't say, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and get them in there, because we need every dollar we can get. So if I got to spend a couple extra bucks on the training, then it's going to work itself out in the end.
Are we talking front desk or group sales or both? Yeah, well, you know, I think that they really don't know what they don't know. We have seen the industry evolve to more of a asset management mindset and numbers people. And, you know, they haven't answered those phones. They don't know what's going on. Every day that phone rings, any hotel, there's revenue coming in.
That's right.
You know, I have this thing in our training, ring, ring, cha-ching. I have to actually teach the young people what cha-ching means by showing them a picture of a cash register, because, you know, it doesn't make a cha-ching anymore. But in Mom's craft shop, it went cha-ching. And so they don't really know what they don't know. The brands and the management companies, they think, oh, it's all about responding quickly to group inquiries because the first proposal back gets the bid. Not true. CVent actually will tell you that if you take time to read their own documentation, the CVent meeting planner survey. So I think they don't know what they don't know, and they're missing the boat. In 10 great years, you know, I called it the era of profitable mediocrity. You could be profitable, you could be mediocre and still be profitable in the 20 teens.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Not now.
This time around.
Not at least for the gap here until we get back to an up market. So then, but we'll see.
So we've seen a lot of things change with COVID when it comes to sales. And right now it seems like, you know, the sales director, the sales marketer, they're really not doing a whole lot of selling. A lot of the hotels that I visited, it seems like they're doing more front desk work and housekeeping versus selling. Like, what are some of the things that we can do to, you know, get them focused on the sales and bringing the business in? Because right now everyone's like, oh, my numbers are dipping. My numbers. I'm like, yeah, your salesperson isn't selling, so of course your numbers are going to dip.
It's pretty interesting. I don't know if you're on Facebook and there's a group called Hospitality Family. My wife, Kathy Cook, got on there because a lot of her friends work for Marriott Corporate. And so somehow I got into this group, and it's really interesting to read. To your point, a lot of DOSs, a lot of sales managers are working the desk, doing housekeeping, which I get. I especially get last April, last May, last June. But right now, it's time to get them back to selling. We have a client in Boston, and they had a staff of something like 11 salespeople, about 200,000 square feet of meeting space. I sent an email to the VP of sales, and several days later, and she's a person that responds right away. She emailed me back on Saturday night saying, I'm working a shift at the desk. And we're talking about a large team. We got to get them back to selling, you know, but that starts out with, again, leaders got to understand sales, and they have to understand the time that it takes. Prospecting is not, hey, go, Bruce, how are you today? Good, that's good. Go make 100 calls. Show me the proof. You know, Bruce comes back with the list. I called them all, boss, you know, or I sent 100 emails and here's the list of the sent messages. That is not prospecting. Yeah. Prospecting takes tenacity. You got to follow up, and it takes personalization. That's what we got to do. That's how you move forward.
Wow. I'm hoping that they get the message right now, because if they don't, they may make that list. So now that we're gaining a little bit more traction, like what can sales managers do, like to just fill up their pipeline and get some more leads coming through, so they can actually have someone?
That's right. It starts with who are we gonna prospect to. You know, in April of last year, a year ago now, the thing to do was, we called them welfare checks. Reach out to all your clients. Hey, how are you? How's your family? Your kids? Okay, that was nice in April. Maybe in June or July. Hey, how are you? How's your family? Everything good? That's good. You know, and then you did it again in September. Finally, it's like, okay, we're good. How are you? We're good. You gotta go prospect. So that's researching, teaching people how to research for prospecting. And that's not an easy thing to do. You know, you could go out years ago and look at reader board surveys. Now you can subscribe to Nolan, but nobody's having hardly any meetings. Now, Nolan will tell you they are coming back, which is good, but there's not much to steal from everybody else. You got to find your own business. So talk to people in your lobby, call them to the breakfast, talk to your front desk. One of my monthly training articles got a lot of hits and comments was the best hotel salesperson is the person behind your front desk.
That's right.
Look at who's staying there. Look at cars. One of my client friends called it a parking lot patrol. And see who's there. Look in your competition's parking lot. But that's one, is figuring out who you're going to contact. Also, looking Google searches, a lot of Boolean searches, and then also looking in your area. And this depends. Are we talking about a limited service, select service, focused service, full service? Sales is very different in a 100-room, upper mid-market hotel, which are the majority of the branded properties now, than a 300-room hotel. But you got to figure out where to research, and then you got to figure out how to prospect, and that is, how do you stand out? Lobbing a phone call and telling, hey boss, I prospected, that's not going to work. You got to follow up, and then you can't just email or call.
Exactly.
So that's why we're teaching people how to use tech for touch.
Nice. Speaking of touch, like how many touches do you usually recommend?
I think at least 3. Now, if they start to return and say, oh, we're not ready, or contact me again, are we talking about prospecting for a local negotiated rate account, or are we talking about a group or an event or a series of groups or events? But whatever it is, you got to reach out more than once. I think generally 3. If they bite and they're responding, then you go back.
Nice.
But it's also about the methodology of how you do.
So we're seeing a lot of change going on with hotel sales. Things are like snapping at a finger. They're changing so fast. So then we have these other companies like that are doing everything with the groups and the bookings, like Group 360. Like, where do you see this market going with that player and that type of technology?
Well, there are a lot of changes in, again, disruption is disruption. Some people are going to see it as an opportunity. Other people are going to see it as an opportunity to cut costs. Some companies are going to more centralized sales office, one call does it all, multiple properties. And that may work if they're in the same segment, in the same geographical location. That may actually work. It can work. But I think if we bring sales off property, that's a problem completely. And then as far as this automation thing, it's bound to happen. Look what happened with the history of OTAs. Interestingly, my company, which at the time was HSA International, we had a contract with HEDNA, the Hotel Electronic Distribution Network Association, HEDNA, to teach HEDNA University for all around the world, actually. And we taught hotel brand people how to sell through what they thought was their best friend, the OTAs. And what's happening now, Bruce? 2014 on, everybody's crying, where's our direct bookings, and all the book direct now initiatives by the brand. And now they finally come to accept the OTAs, But what's happening now is potentially to outsourcing a lot of the group function and planning to these apps. Now, if done rightly, it can be a successful thing. But just imagine now all the rates are transparent. The meeting room and the group room block and the meeting room pricing is transparent. I don't know what they're actually planning to do, but if you can go online and get the prices, why do you have to call? Now you just compare price, don't you?
Talk about deja vu.
Deja vu all over again, Yogi.
Wow.
But let's talk about, what do you do about it? So that's what you should ask me.
So what do you do about it? Do you participate?
Great question. I haven't really checked it out enough to know if you should participate. And I don't really know what plans are. And, we did mention a company name, and they may be doing it right. But be careful about transparent pricing put out there and self-service selection, because what's left? The meeting room looks the same. Your revenue manager's got you priced exactly the same because you got all kinds of data, looking forward and looking back to price with. We have data scientists now. What makes the difference is the people. That's what we do about it. Put people back in process. Sales devolved from 2010 to 2020. It devolved into automation. People go to Cvent or wedding bride to be, goes to the Knot or Wedding Wire, click, click, click. Instead of 3 phone calls and 3 hotels get a request for a proposal, click 10 hotels in their inbox, have a notification. So they all 10 send a response trying to be first. In an effort to be first, they are generic. Now the planner's like, there's 10 proposals, right? So what do we have to do? We have to stand out. You got to talk to people. What we teach is 3 things. Online scheduling tools, there's several. Calendly is the one a lot of people know. It's free, has a free version. Online meetings. A lot of people are flipping on a webcam now. But if you flip on a webcam and you're not prepared, and you got the webcam down here and you're showing, for me, my double chin, and your lighting's bad and it's showing your messy bulletin board.
Oh, yeah.
And then the third thing is video email, personalized, not a generic video that you send one to many, but one-to-one. And again, there's several free apps now. You can just record a video, shows up right in the email. That, my friend, is how you put people into process. You use tech to touch, and that's how you stand out, short-term and long-term.
That whole process when it comes to getting the meeting rooms, and getting so many bids, it kind of sounds a lot like Hotel Planner, because I used to go through the same thing with Hotel Planner.
Hotel Planner is.
I'm sending this over and over and over again. I'm like,
well, people don't respond. Well, why don't they respond? Because number one, they have too many leads.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we started doing before sales training. I would say, let's take a look at what you're actually doing. So I would go back to the lead, the point at which a lead comes in. That's usually a notification in somebody's email inbox. And then I pick the lead and I sit down with each salesperson and I say, okay, Bruce, show me, what did you do? You got a lead, what did you do? Oh, I sent an email. I always send an email. Okay, go to your sent messages real quick, look up that email address. I usually send an email. So either they just miss it or they look at it, they're like, sold out, rate's too low, and it says not flexible.
Yeah.
But if everybody in your comp set is sold out, that person might become flexible. We got to use people to stand out. That's the hospitality business. It's not, automation will not set you apart.
Man, I love the video idea. That idea is amazing.
The video email is the most exciting thing because instead of going, hi Bruce, thank you for your inquiry. Congratulations on your wedding. We look forward to hosting your meeting. Hey, Bruce, how are you? Listen, great to hear from you. We would love to speak with you. Mm-hmm. And by the way, my GM is here. She wants to say a word. Hi, we would love to have your business.
Nice.
That's how you put people in process. That's how you stand out.
Nice.
That's how we can charge more. A little bit more anyway.
So market leaders have been talking about the demise of voice, as the main booking source as far as getting in the business, making it happen. Is that likely, or do you have a different opinion on that one?
Well, it very much depends on what type of hotel and who's booking. Okay, so what I mean by that, if you are booking a trip to a branded hotel, it's a short trip, you don't really care. I mean, I don't want to offend my Marriott, Hilton, Intercontinental friends out there, but really to me a Hilton Garden is a lot like a Courtyard, a Resident is like a Staybridge or a Cambria. I'm gonna probably book that on my app, but higher the rate, the longer the stay, the more emotionally invested you are, you're more likely to call.
So if it's like let's say a resort that's 2-week vacation, they want all the information. Those are the ones that's going to keep you on the phone for 2 hours, asking a million questions about every single thing about the resort.
So it could be, that's the classic example, a resort that has a lot of room types, accommodation types, because some of them are suites. They have views. People will call up and say, what's the difference between the partial view and the full view? And you want to say, well, the partial view has a partial view and the full view a full view. But they need someone. And the first question they're going to ask is, hello, are you there? And if you are there, you want to sell that, yeah, we're right here. And if you're at a call center, you better be really good at sounding like you're there. But yeah, so that's, but at the same time, let's not leave out the front desk calls. You get these all the time pre-COVID. And I don't know if you're going to ask me about COVID, but pre-COVID, people call up and say, hi, I just have a question. What's the difference between this room type and that time? I'm online and I just have a question. And I've literally been standing in the lobby waiting for a GM or a sales manager to meet for lunch or an appointment. And I literally have the front desk person say, hold on, let me go to Expedia or booking.com and coach them like tech support for the OTA instead of saying, oh, let me put that in right now.
Wow.
And they just don't really understand. You know, so every day, pre-COVID, that phone call is cha-ching, you know. And I don't know if you want to talk about COVID right now, the phone calls, because that right now is a huge opportunity. People are, you know, today, literally today, we're getting, oh, I just have a quick question. And the sales lead of yesterday, the transient sales lead is, hi, I just have a quick question about what's open, what's your protocol, what's going on with masks, you know, is your breakfast buffet back or is it still grab and go? Any of these
That's
things.
my favorite.
Yeah,
That's my favorite.
and you want that fresh hot waffle in the omelet. Me too, my friend. And you know, so you want to see those phone calls even more so right now. That phone call is a gold mine.
So when we're training front desk agents on sales and upselling and upgrading, you know, a lot of them in the beginning, they get those like first time jitters because they're scared to sell. They don't want to sell. Like, what are some of the things that you do to get it out of them so they're nice and smooth? And it's the same. Would you like an additional upgrade for $10? It's okay if you don't want it. Like,
right. You wouldn't want a suite, would you? Or it's funny you said it like that because that's what goes down if you don't give them the confidence.
Yes.
And you know, I know you came up through the ranks. You've been a GM. You know, you got to give people the confidence to go out there. If all you do is say, "Go get me some upsells," then they're going to be like, "Sure, boss." No, nobody wanted any. Or they're going to do exactly what you just walked us through. So number one is, you know, prepare. Number one is mindset. You know, it helps the guest. A lot of front desk people, they love guests and they love personality and they want to be that hospitality person. They don't want to have to sell anything. But remind them like, hey, if you don't mention that upgrade, it doesn't exist, you know. And then a lot of the stuff we cover in our training, you know, a lot of companies, they just say, put it in an incentive and money is going to do it. Well, money is important, but if you don't give them the tools, they won't know how to do it.
Correct. It's definitely all in the technique.
And you know, you can have the training, but no incentive, not good. But look through the arrivals. What are the best candidates for upsell? People that request early arrival. That is a fantastic way to say, you know, we have a 4 o'clock check-in time and it's 10 in the morning and you know, your room, I'm sure it'll be ready before 4, but we have one that was open last night. It's actually a higher category. And you know, for $30 more, it's open. We could get you in that room right now. That's a huge opportunity.
Love that.
You know, but if you say, oh, well, your room won't be ready till 4, but if you pay extra, you know, that's a thin line, right? But if you spin it the way I just did, and then also a lot of times you want to not diminish the first room. Because if you say, oh, right now, imagine now you're coming with your lady. Hey, welcome, how are you? Oh, sir, we have you in the standard room.
But you don't look like the standard type.
Yeah, but if you want something nice, you know, it's going to cost you $20 more. So, oh, nice to meet you, Mr. Jordan. Listen, yeah, the room we have you in, it's a great room. You're going to find it comfortable. But we did have our next category open up. Would you like to hear more about that? And then the person might be, no, or they might be like, Now, of course, your diamond level will be like, yeah, give it to me for free.
There you go.
That we can't cover in this one. But again, that's part of the, you know, looking through your arrivals. You're not going to try to upsell your titanium or platinum diamond, whatever, you know. So finding the right guest. And that's a lot of it is training. And now role playing, you know, get them comfortable and then send them out there and then measure it and incentivize.
I feel like they don't do enough role playing. Like,
definitely not. And these are, you know, sometimes I think it might be those of us who come up through the ranks, we have certain gifts of our personalities or our talents, and we expect everyone's going to have that, but they don't.
You know, so similarly, a lot of tech companies they're really pushing to change the role of the front desk. They feel like you shouldn't need like 4 or 5, 6 people if you're a 2,000 room hotel. The guests are just checking themselves. You're on their phone and go to the room. Open door with their cell phone. Like it's just beautiful the way they paint the picture. Like where do you see the role of the front desk agent going forward with COVID?
I love this question. So when I started my company in 1989, I had the magazine, Hotel Motel Management Magazine, the long print magazine, and front desk to replace by kiosk check-ins. That was around the same time that they were envisioning airline check-in. Now the airlines pushed us that way. Hotel companies have not been so successful. Pretty much it's like, okay, do you want to print your own boarding pass or get in the really long line? Hotels tried to do that. They tried in the 90s, they failed. Big box hotels tried it. Hilton, once again, is always leading the charge on this. In 2009, they put them in all the Embassy Suites, Hilton brand, and the actual machines. Later that year, I was the speaker at the regional brand conferences, and I heard how it went. A lot of people like the machines to print their boarding pass. And then, hotel, I trained one of the major Las Vegas properties, 5,000 rooms, when they put in a whole wall of kiosk machines. Nobody used them. So they walked you over. 2 years ago, I went back to the same hotel and they had the phone check-in. And I sat there doing a little study in the lobby, and it was only when the queue got to a certain point in the rope lines that people actually voluntarily went there. And I was there for a lodging conference. So yeah, I mean, the frequent traveler, she's a Hilton Honors, she likes the app, but at the end of the day, a lot of people want to talk to someone. At the end of the day, your phone is dead. Or you already
questions. They have so many questions they want to ask you about the hotel.
And we get apped out. That's my next article. I'll give you a preview. You ever get apped out? Like, I don't need any more apps, just, Now, that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. If we do it right, if we let people that have traveling by yourself, stay there all the time, there's a long line, you don't want to say hi to your buddy Bruce at the desk, go right to your room, no worries. But be there when they need you. And if we do it right, Bruce, now we can reinvent the welcome. You still got to have the people there.
Yeah. I don't know. They're pushing for this really hard. I think they're going to force the guests to go directly in.
If they do, they will turn us into a commodity.
So in the season 2 of Hotel Management Do's and Don'ts, they're all new properties, all newly constructed. Out of the 8 hotels, new construction, only one of them, the front desk was constructed for self-check-in.
Really?
Really.
Despite all this tech investment?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how are they expecting things to change if everything they do is the same?
Makes you wonder. Well, we got to figure out a way to reinvent it. Now, interestingly, I had a hotel that actually, it was a boutique hotel. It's called the Farmer's Daughter. It's across from the Farmer's Market in LA and Hollywood. It's a famous historic farmer's market. And when they emailed me for an inquiry, I said, I'm your guy because I literally married the farmer's daughter. My wife is a 7th generation farmer's daughter. But he said, we're going to kiosk check-in, but I'm keeping all the people. I just want to reinvent the welcome. I don't know if he used that exact term. I actually did use that. So he took the big long front desk, he made little private alcoves in a wall, and he put the front desk in this little stand-up podium, one person, right? 3 check-in stations. And I got there, they had it for a couple of weeks, but the people were really awkward. They're like, where's my desk? Now, by the way, these were young people. You think, oh yeah, young people, they love tech and they're gonna love this. They really felt awkward. The guests would walk in, they'd be like, they were feeling awkward. And they were saying something along the lines of, no, I don't want to criticize, but let's take this out of the farmer's daughter, because some of them were very good. But in a lot of situations like that, the front desk person will say, hi, do you want to use the machine, or the guest will go with the or, right? And then you have the whole line at your one little podium. But on the other hand, if we say, welcome, we have just set up this, may I direct you over to our self-check-in and help you with that, or welcome, step right on over here and just put your name in and make it a welcome. And now we can come away from the desk. We can't lean on it anymore, right? We can't do this. Nice. And now we're like free, but now we have a new role. We call it greeters, the welcoming role. Think back to when I started at a desk, which was the tail end of the rack. Mm-hmm. I worked at the last Marriott probably ever built with the room rack, and it was going to Marcia, which they still have. God. First Marcia conversion. But literally like, all right, welcome, hello, how are you? I need a room. Room rack, green, kings, yellow, doubles. Red was sweet. Red was sweet connectors. So I need a room. 3rd floor, right? Need a key. Back to, I need to take your credit card. Ching, ching, right? It was all about the guest. Now we're like, good afternoon, welcome. Oh, you want a room on the 3rd floor. And you want doubles? Okay, now I got to put your credit card in. Right? We have taken so much of that away. So if we do it right, we can bring back hospitality to the front desk.
A lot of people don't even remember those credit card machines that you used to slide. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I better get a picture of one of those. But, it was all about the guest. And the more advanced the property management systems got, the slower they became, the more complicated they became. And so the less focused we were on the guest and more on the process. No wonder there's a long line. No wonder people are like, you know what, give me an app, I'll go straight to the room. But given the choice, people like people. Yeah. And I think that's another thing we've learned in COVID. Like, I like seeing somebody besides, my wife and the supermarket checkout person. Now, I have been out on the road more recently doing training, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the last thing the married couple want to see is another lockdown.
Nothing against my wife. She'll probably be watching this. She's actually asking me, Douglas, when is your next business trip? Right? But, I'm joking now, but we miss strangers, right? And those random conversations.
So we have a new OTA on the block. Well, it's new to most of us, called Snap Travel. And what they do is they do text messaging reservations. So you actually book your reservation with text.
Interesting.
They're promising cheaper rates and cheaper commissions for the hotel. Like, how do you see the guests utilizing this? Like, do you think this is something that the guest is actually going to want and use, or you think this may actually go in another direction?
Well, this to me sounds like, not a brand new thing. It is new that it's a text, but we have had, the Hotwire, the Hotel Tonight, all these apps. And, you can't stereotype. I have an older brother, 8 years older than me, and he travels all the time. Has his own sales rep company, and he is super deal hunter. So he loves Hotwire, and there's actually websites you can go to break the code on Hotwire. Like, you can pretty much find out which hotel and what's going to be with some degree of accuracy. It's a game for him, right? So what we may do, if revenue managers and distribution people do not fence this, and then we may have our regular guests like my brother that, hey, he goes online like, hey, I'm going to, let's pick any city. I'm going to Atlanta next week, right? Let me check on Expedia. Oh, plenty of availability. Let me check tomorrow. Plenty of availability. Let me check day of travel. Oh, they got tons of availability. I'm just going to get there in text, right? Or I'm going to go on Hotwire. And then we're diminishing our rates. Now, so be careful, because if it's great if you're the only one using it and your regular customers don't find you there. But the other problem with this, and again, I don't want to stereotype, is you do get a lot of, if you read in Hospitality Family, okay, are you in that group? I don't think you answered me.
I'm actually in there.
And you see the front desk people talking about the rooms where they're finding the weed and they're finding the party rooms, and what do they all say? We don't want to mention the names of where those people are booking, but they're booking on those deal sites. We may have people migrating to some of those last minute, hey, it doesn't matter where the room is, it's got a bed and it's private and, there's a closed door and whatever. Not a fan, you can't tell.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, if I had a hotel and nobody else was using it, I had some unsold inventory, I needed to pay the mortgage, so, there's no absolutes in this business.
That is true. That is true. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Hotel Tonight, and I didn't have the best experience with Hotel Tonight when it came to like some of the type of guests that I would get.
And
So.
you know, it might have been my brother. He was not he didn't have parties, and he never ever smoked weed even in the 60s. Okay, but you know, he would find the deals there. But unfortunately, it does attract a lot of, you know, and it's not just smoking weed in the rooms, by the way. It's the meth and other things that people find.
Undesirable. Yes.
Yeah.
So, extended stay. We have seen new construction by the boatloads when it comes to extended stay. Like, where do you see extended stay sector in this whole game? Like, do you see them taking a lead? Yeah. Or do you see them taking a back seat after COVID? Or what do you think is going to happen?
Interesting, isn't it? Did you see about the, Extended Stay America deal? They got bought up and... You know, I mean, it literally, if you look at the STR or CoStar numbers now, as it is CoStar, I guess, with occupancy, I mean, you're right. Where is it going to go? You know, obviously, I mean, COVID, let's hope, isn't going to last forever. Mm-hmm. I do think people yearn to go out to restaurants, but still, some of these trends are long term. So you've heard of bleisure, the business and leisure person, that, you know, instead of just going out and back on 1 or 2 nights, people are like, you know what, let's stay over for the weekend. Let me fly in my husband. Let me bring in my wife. Let me have meet my kid in college, have her come down. And so I think you're going to see that. I do think also that there will be, you know, our whole society is becoming more transient, I guess. Do we move around? People go off and move here and change jobs and work remote, and they're, you know, maybe they go to live in a cheap place and go back to work at the corporate office and stay. So I think it will do well as a segment. I don't think it will do as disproportionately well as it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a brand. You know, the major brands should all have an extended stay brand. I would be careful where you put it, because what you may end up find as a developer is you think, oh, extended stays are going to go great forever, but you put it in the wrong place, and then you end up, you know, having all those extras, which are hard costs, that you can't get the revenue for.
Yeah, so they get killed when it comes to you know, trying to compete with the regular transit hotels. You know, that's in there for one night and they're out the next night. That's when they really lose.
And then you have the kind of hybrid, whatever brand inn and suites, that has a little bit of both. You know, and I think there's been a lot of diluting the brands. And there's too many brands under the same flag, and people that are loyal to the biggies, you know, like, I want the Marriott. Which one is the Marriott? Which one is the Hilton? You know, Moxie. You ever stayed at Moxie?
No, but I seen that happen with True by Hilton. You know, like they will come in and like, what is this? Like,
yeah, what is this?
Like, maybe it should just been True, just not by Hilton.
Just a real quick story before we finish up. I stayed at a Moxie, and you know, my wife worked for Marriott 27 years. She actually joined my company 3.5 years ago. So it took a long time to recruit her. She's a hospitality and a training career person. But we stayed at a lot of Marriotts, and we stayed at a Moxie, and you know, it was supposed to be like the millennial brand where the front desk is the bar, and they have like all the foosball and all the games. And here I am, I'm looking around, I'm like the youngest person here. Everybody was like late 50s, 60s. I'm like, where's the millennials? Oh, they're working behind the desk, you know? So I don't think you can stereotype by age, you know? I mean, there's times my wife and I want to act like millennials, you know, in our 50s, but you know, there's other times like I want a stuffy old brand, you know? So I don't know.
That is
I don't
too
know.
funny.
It's interesting. I'm not sure it's a good thing to dilute the brands too far here. Yeah, so.
Wow. So Doug, you've done so much in your career. Like, what's next? Are you going to be coming out with your own TV show, the hotel business consultant? You know, be the next Grant Cardone, or what's going to happen here?
I don't think you have to worry about me competing in your space, but you do it really well, my friend. What's next? You know, 32 years. I mean, I'm not going to work forever, but I don't know that I'm going to quit anytime soon. I love what I do. Somebody told me when I started, my entrepreneurial spirit came out, late 20s. They said, young man, you only got to do one thing, but do it really well. And I kind of listened to that. People are like, well, Doug, you should expand to other industries, like outside of tourism. I mean, we do go outside a little bit by referral, but everything is lodging. But within lodging, I work with, luxury to economy. I work with vacation rental, with agencies, which is big business, not individual Joe Schmo wants to rent out their beach condo, but agent. This is a big business, which has been done very well during COVID. We work with brand, we work with, boutique. And so I do one thing well with this lodging. And within that, I do hotel sales. We do front desk, hospitality, hotel hospitality. And we do the reservations thing. There's a lot of voice out there for, luxury resorts. But we try to reinvent it. Like mystery shopping has evolved to call scoring. A lot of companies have the call recording tools. We have people that just log in remotely, grab a real call, score it. So we reinvented that. You look at sales, we try to reinvent sales training, teaching them how to use the scheduling apps, the online meetings, selling through video, email. And for hospitality, we're really getting into certification. We had, and you didn't ask about my pen.
Yes. I'm like, this is the weirdest presidential pin I've ever seen.
My wife, Kathy Cook, when she joined us, we launched the Heart of Hospitality training, and it's represented, fingers on the hand represent the 5 pillars, which are more the communication essentials. The heart is authenticity, kindness. And so we actually have that. We do a private live webcam training, one-on-one.
101.
Not a boring online course. I wrote my first boring online course in the year 2000. Not a fan. And I wrote, I think it was the first e-learning course in the hotel business. I wrote a lot since. This is live. Then they take an online assessment, which also has essay questions. We grade manually. Last thing, they do a role play. We talked about role playing a minute ago.
Yeah.
They role play on the camera phone, send us the video in Dropbox. So we use tech for touch and training, and we're teaching them hospitality. So that's where we're going. I'm still doing one thing, but I'm trying to do it really well.
Thank you for tuning to another episode of True Hotel Leaders, where we bring the best in the hotel business to you to give you the best advice. Now, don't forget to tune in to subscribe to our YouTube channel and be on the lookout for our next episode coming up in season 2 of Hotel Management Do's and Don'ts.